Some more stuff on the area of barriers to ascension. I'm trying to get across the idea that it's not automatic. Starts with a little bit about who the Dark Overlords are, and goes into freedom from general laws, and then imagination, which is another barrier. It happens fairly often that essence dies in a man while his personality and his body are still alive. A considerable percentage of the people we meet in the streets of a great town are people who are empty inside. That is, they are actually already dead. It is fortunate for us that we do not see and do not know it. If we knew what a number of people are actually dead and what a number of these dead people govern our lives, we should go mad with horror. I see dead people. And indeed, people often do go mad because they find out something of this nature without the proper preparation. That is, they see something they are not supposed to see. In order to see without danger, one must be on the way. If a man who can do nothing sees the truth, he will certainly go mad. This rarely happens. Usually everything is so arranged that a man can see nothing prematurely. Personality sees only what it likes to see and what does not interfere with its life. It never sees what it does not like. This is both good and bad at the same time. It is good if a man wants to sleep, bad if he wants to awaken. For example, the FBI, CIA guys broke into the Church of Scientology in the early 60s, I think, and read the upper levels material, and all of them died within 3 weeks from the horror and the shock of what really goes on around here. If essence is subject to the influence of fate, does it mean that compared with accident, fate is always favorable to a man? Ask somebody present. And can fate bring man to the work? No, it does not mean that at all. Fate is better than accident only in the sense that it is possible to take it into account. It is possible to know it beforehand. It is possible to prepare for what is ahead. Like this galactic alignment. In regard to accident, one can know nothing, but fate can be unpleasant or difficult. But in this event, however, there are means for isolating oneself from one's fate. The first step towards this consists in getting away from general laws. Just as there is individual accident, so there is general or collective accident. In the same way as there is individual fate, there is a general or collective fate. Collective accident and collective fate are governed by general laws. If a man wishes to create individuality of his own, he must first free himself from general laws. General laws are by no means all obligatory for man. He can free himself from any of them. If he frees himself from buffers and from imagination. All this is connected with liberation from personality. Personality feeds on imagination and falsehood. If the falsehood in which man lives is decreased and his imagination is decreased, personality very soon weakens and a man begins to be controlled either by fate or by a line of work, which is in its turn controlled by another man's will. This will leads him until a will of his own has been formed, capable of withstanding both accident and, when necessary, fate. Now, what's being said but not understood is, yes, we have the possibility of going into a higher level of consciousness for humanity, but humanity's part of the thin film of life around the planet, organic life, and that is a communication mechanism between the rest of the universe and the Earth, and we're part of that, and it's mechanical. Now, if all of us, or most of us, which is what people are thinking of is going to happen, do this kind of work and actually free ourselves from these general laws, the fact that that is happening will go back out as a communication on the galactic level. And something might actually happen with that. But that's what people actually are talking about when they speak about, and they're speaking unknowingly, about humanity ascending to the next level. We're the most conscious part of this film around the planet. And if we change our acceptance of what comes in on us mechanically, like when Mars comes around every 15 years, there's lots of wars. And when the cycle of Saturn gangs up on that, the wars are even worse. So if everyone knew that and said, it's nice that the planetary influences are asking for a war, but we ain't going, it wouldn't happen. Things would change on the Earth, as the Earth is a living being, would get a different communication, and the universe communicating to the Earth and back would get apprised of the change. We don't know what would happen, but hopefully it would be something good. And that's the truth of that, and it is not going to happen just because the Earth happens to go through the edge of the galaxy up and down, which it's been doing for 4 quadrillion years. Nothing's happened yet. So there is an aspect of actually working on this stuff, and there are schools that teach this. There's a little bit on imagination. Imagination is one of the principal sources of the wrong work of centers. The centers are the intellectual center, the moving center, the instinctive center, and the emotional center. Each center has its own form of imagination and daydreaming, but as a rule, both the moving and the emotional centers make use of the thinking center, which very readily places itself at their disposal for this purpose, because daydreaming corresponds to its own inclinations. Daydreaming is absolutely the opposite of useful mental activity. Useful in this case means activity directed towards a definite aim and undertaken for the sake of obtaining a definite result. Daydreaming does not pursue any aim, does not strive after any result. The motive for daydreaming always lies in the emotional or in the moving center. The actual process is carried on by the thinking center. The inclination to daydream is due partly to the laziness of the thinking center, that is, its attempts to avoid the efforts connected with work directed towards a definite aim and going in a definite direction, and partly to the tendency of the emotional and the moving centers to repeat themselves, to keep alive, or to recreate experiences both pleasant and unpleasant that have previously been lived through or imagined. Daydreaming of disagreeable, morbid things is very characteristic of the unbalanced state of the human machine. After all, one can understand daydreaming of a pleasant kind and find logical justification for it. Daydreaming of an unpleasant character is an utter absurdity, but yet many people spend 9/10 of their lives in just such painful daydreams. About misfortunes which may overtake them or their family, about illness they may contract, sufferings they will have to endure. Imagination and daydreaming are instances of the wrong work of the thinking center. Observation of the activity of imagination and daydreaming forms a very important part of self-study. And this is one of the reasons for meditation. You try to stop what goes on in your mind and see what happens, see how long you can last. And I invite you to try that and see how many seconds you can do it for, and then after you can do it for a few seconds, try to go a minute, and suddenly you'll find things happening, like songs will start running through your head, or you'll remember old friends, or you'll see beautiful places that you used to go to, or you'll start thinking about your day tomorrow. And the exercise is to not do that for pick a length of time, 1 minute, 10 minutes, and it's good for you. That stuff's just crazy mechanicalness, and to get somewhere and to get through the next few years of whatever's going to happen, you're going to need to have some mental focus. So these are the things that are not put out in the West. They're done in the Eastern schools, and it's kept away from you so you won't have mental focus, so you'll be easy to control. And it's time for that lie and abuse to stop in the Western world.